I don't know about you, but when I think about like one of the most fundamental, important apps from Google that make life easier, I think Google Forms is it. I use it in the classroom to collect a whole lot of different things, from digital submissions to make my own mock rosters, to have data to work with, and different kinds of school-wide things. We can collect a lot of data. And as a DLC, we use a lot of forms to just help with PD, to follow up and working with folks as they need help in that. And there's a couple things I just want to share with you that can make life really, really easy. It's relatively new, but there's a way now that you can actually import questions from other Google Forms. So for me in my role, it seems like pretty much any form that I ever would put together would include a school site and would include a department. And when you think about our school sites in our district, you're probably looking at 12, 13 different sites, including the academies. We have easily 10 to 12 different departments that people could be in. And remaking that question every single time, it gets old. So what I can do is I can import questions and reuse. So I click on that icon. I can find a form. In this case, I'm going to use the online PD evaluation form and select it. And then what I can do is I can choose any one or number of questions that I want to use. Subject area, maybe I want to bring in the school site and the name. Now that I've done that, it's built. I don't have to put in all these options and whatever else, which is a really, really, really cool thing. So that's awesome. Another thing that's relatively new is the ability to copy and paste things over from one form or document to another. And so in order to do that, I could, for instance, have a document that has multiple lines of text on it. And what I can do here is I'm just going to go ahead and open this in a new tab. And just hypothetically, let's say that these 3 lines were 3 choices that I wanted to use for a Google form question. I can highlight that text. I can go back to my form, and I can make a new question, and then I can simply paste in those choices. And what you notice is item 1, 2, and 3 from a document became choice 1, 2, and 3 for a Google form. That's awesome. The other thing that I think is really, really helpful is whenever you create a Google form, it creates its own standalone response sheet. So if you have like 20 forms going, well, that also means you have 20 spreadsheets going. And so something that I think is really cool is that you can actually take your different forms and farm them all to the same spreadsheet. So that way you're looking at one spreadsheet with multiple forms in it. So to demonstrate how this would work, I could have my form C. I created a spreadsheet called sample form sheet for illustrative purposes. Once I've gone ahead and I've created my Google form, what I can do is go to responses. I could choose to put it into a spreadsheet, and I can either choose to make a brand new spreadsheet or select an existing spreadsheet. I'm going to select an existing spreadsheet. I'm now going to find my sample form 1, which is right here, and hit select. What will happen now is form C would be this form responses 1. I can go ahead and rename the tab to be form C. I go to my form B and I choose to make responses. I could again choose create a spreadsheet. I'm going to select an existing and hit select. I'm again going to find the sample form and hit select. What will happen now is it'll create a second tab. What I can do again is go ahead and I can rename this as form B. I can repeat this for other forms. What's nice now is every tab is its own form. I can go to that tab and go back to the form, and I can really work off of one spreadsheet rather than 20 spreadsheets to get to a bunch of the different forms that I need. This will save me a lot of time and trouble. Another thing to keep in mind that I think is also very helpful is if you go to the settings of the actual form itself, you can choose to collect the email addresses. You can also choose to restrict it to Gross Mountain Union High School District and trusted organizations. These are really helpful because if you restrict it to GUHSD, The student has to be in their school account, and they can't be doing it from a Yahoo account or a Gmail or whatever else. If you collect the email address as well, if they put their name in wrong or they put their ID number in wrong or whatever what you're collecting, you can at least have some sort of hardwired thing that they can't be misspelled or mistyped, and you have it. If it is something of importance or of value, I'd also recommend the response receipts. And what this means then is when a student makes a response to the form, he or she will get an email copy of what was sent in. There are times where maybe you want students to go back to something submitted with a Google form. If you took away their ability to see what they did, how can they work with it? If they have an email copy, it's all good. And I also personally found in the classroom when I would do email or Google form types of homeworks, I had a couple of cases where, honest to goodness, the student did the work, but for whatever reason, it didn't show up in my sheet. Because I had the response receipts turned on, that student was able to show me that she got an email, that she did the form, it came from Google, everything was filled in. And I was able to totally give her the benefit of the doubt and get that information. So it was really nice to have kind of like a backstop in case something does glitch out. So you or your students aren't put in a weird situation if that was an assignment that counted for a grade and something glitched kind of weird. So between importing in existing questions from other forms, putting multiple forms onto one spreadsheet, using the email receipts, these are really, really good ways to get a lot out of Google Form, save yourself navigation, and keep yourself more organized.